All right. All right, we're gonna start here. Go to Isaiah. The title of the class, I think I told you a different title off saying tonight, but I changed it in the wee hours of the night. Nah, actually I changed it like 3 minutes ago. It's To Know Wisdom. That's the title, To Know Wisdom. All right. So let's go to Isaiah 1 and 3. Let's start there.
Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider.
So my next point, right? Let's actually read this too, right? This is why I named the class, so I want to read it. Ecclesiastes 7 and 25.
There's the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 25. I applied mine heart to know, and to search and to seek out wisdom.
So Solomon was trying to know and to seek out wisdom, right? To search and to seek out wisdom. So his goal was to learn as much as he could about wisdom, right? There's also some other nonsense he went into in this verse, but I want to pay attention to that first part, right? He sought out wisdom. What was it about? You know, what should I learn? What are things that I should be paying attention to? That's what Solomon was doing. So let's look at knowledge, right? So when we say knowledge, what does that mean? You brothers was there with me on Sunday, so I still ask y'all the question. Mac, what is knowledge? What is knowledge? Ah, there you go. Give him the mic. See, we went through this on Sunday. It slipped that quick. What's knowledge? Say it on the mic.
Okay. Knowledge is wisdom.
Knowledge is
Yes.
wisdom.
Yes,
And
sir.
knowledge is wisdom. Okay. What's knowledge, Jericho?
Understanding the law, sir.
Understanding the laws. This, see what I'm saying? Ed and I, all these words are different, but we use them interchangeably, right? We'll say knowledge, we'll say wisdom, we'll say understanding. We'll just use those words all as the same thing, but they're different words for a reason, right? So we'll say knowledge is understanding, wisdom is understanding, wisdom is knowledge. What's the difference? Why are they using them in different places if they all mean the same thing, right? So go to Malachi 2 and 7.
There's the book of Malachi chapter 2 and verse 7. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth.
So we know, looking at the Bible, when you say knowledge, people are going to go to Malachi 2 and 7 because knowledge is the laws, right? But the priests, they weren't teaching you just the laws, they were teaching you other things, right? So when we say they should seek the law at his mouth, the reason that's knowledge, or the reason that was categorized as knowledge, is because it was information, right? Because it gave you the proper information. That's what those laws taught you, because we didn't know the law of Passover when Moses taught it to us, right? We didn't know certain laws. We were going back and serving in idolatry. So they had to teach us those laws and get the information necessary, right? So we're going to look at the definition of knowledge. Let's pull it up. So we'll say knowledge, we'll say wisdom, we'll say understanding. We just use those three words interchangeably, right? So a lot of us have knowledge, right? A lot of you brothers that came in the truth, y'all got a bunch of knowledge. Any brother that knows a milk precept, right? If you know Christ is black, you got knowledge, right? You got knowledge, right? Knowledge itself is what they used to say on the East Coast back in the day. You know what I'm saying? You got knowledge. Don't mean you got wisdom. Don't mean you got understanding. So let's read some definitions of knowledge.
Knowledge, acquaintance with facts, truths, or principles, as from study or investigations, general
Erudition.
erudition.
So when you say you're acquainted with facts, truth, or principles, it just means I could quote stuff. You'll hear brothers all the time in the street, right? People will be like, hey, man, the black man did this, this, and this. And you be like, prove it. They be like, I don't know how to prove that, but that's what I heard, right? So that's knowledge. We got a lot of people in the world with knowledge of certain things, right? Keep going. These are some other definitions.
Definition number 2, familiarity or conversance as with particular subject or branch of learning.
So you're aware of what accounting is, and you can kind of speak to what an accountant does. It don't mean you have the wisdom to be an accountant, right? That's knowledge. You understand? A lot of us come in here and we have knowledge. We have the basic understanding of where to find things in the Bible. Keep going. We're going to read some more definitions so it makes sense. Keep scrolling. Click see more for me. Read definition 5.
Definition number 5, awareness as of fact or circumstance.
All right. So, yeah, that's it, right? So we'll stop there. So the point is you have some form of awareness of a thing, right? So when you talk about knowledge, you can have knowledge of the Bible. You know that the Israelites are black, right? You know that Christ is coming back to save us. You know these basic things on a basic level. You have familiarity or acquaintance with us. But is that what we're here for? Is just to be able to have knowledge? That's not why we're here. We're not here just to be like, hey, man, let me quote this thing that's in the Bible. Let me kind of know where it's at. Let me regurgitate this and be a parrot. That's not what we're here for. That's not what the sisters is here for. That's not what the brothers are here for. We're here to have wisdom. We're here to have understanding. We're here to create a culture on earth, right? I left out culture because I think culture is the fourth step, right? And learning something is after you understand it, you create a culture. But let's look at that video on what is knowledge, right? If you don't believe me, let's let the white man tell you. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when they say it, you know, it sticks for some of our people. You know what I'm saying? This is some people's Jesus. So he's going to talk to you about what knowledge is. We can start it from the beginning. It's only like a 2-minute video.
Hi everyone, it's Yanis here, and in this video we will explore what is knowledge. Successful people never stop learning because they know that that is what got them there in the first place. If this is your first time on this channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to get updates on my latest videos about time management and productivity. Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness and understanding of someone or something, such as facts, skills or objects. We all acquire knowledge throughout our life. We go to school, read books and experience life on everyday basis. There is a saying that knowledge is power, but the problem is that many people are getting the wrong knowledge. Information that is available online is not controlled, and therefore it is easy to get miseducated on different topics. So it is your job to ensure that you learn from trusted sources and consume information that is believed to be true. You have to keep learning and educating yourself throughout your life in order to become more and more knowledgeable. Here are some of the ways to do that. First, read. By far, the simplest way to learn is through reading books. If you don't like reading, give a try to Audible, where you can listen to audiobooks. Second, take online courses. Instead of looking for random pieces of information, you can...
So in terms of knowledge, right? Knowledge is just information. That's the point I want y'all to get. So a lot of us have the information of the Bible, right? But we take that information and we falsely believe we're wise, right? We falsely believe, hey, I can make my own decisions and I don't need any counsel, or I'm gonna figure it out my own way. A lot of people been in here for years and all they have is knowledge, right? They've been in here 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. All you got is knowledge. Because we don't understand that there's something else we should be chasing after, right? Give me Romans 10:2. You got something? Go ahead.
So there's one thing up there that he said that I really do not agree with. He said knowledge is power. Do you believe that? Knowledge is not power. Without wisdom, there is no power in knowledge. I was going to wait till wisdom came out, but I'm going to tell you now. Okay, where I work with engineers, right? Engineers that come fresh out of college. They've been in college for the last 4 or 5 years, right? So they got a world of knowledge in their head, right? And their downfall is when they go out there and try to tell the operators that have been working there for 30 years how to run the plant. The operators have the knowledge and the wisdom. And the thing is like they do this and like the still will go down. The fermenters won't grow. All these things happen because they just relying on this man saying that he has knowledge, and they'll let him fail, just so he'll humble himself, right?
Hey, that's perfect, right? That's exactly what you see throughout life, right? People come in here, they pick up the same Bible, and they be like, I know the same precept bishop knows, so I don't need to go and get counsel from that person or deal with that person. Read Romans 10:2.
Romans chapter 10 and verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
Right? So many people have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge, right? Meaning you lack the proper information at a basic level to understand what to even do. You don't even get to the point of wisdom. And there's a lot of people in the world like this, but there's also people in the truth like this who don't fully understand how to put precepts together to understand what you should be doing in a situation and how you should be moving. But that leads me to my next point. My question for y'all now is, what is wisdom? What is wisdom? So now we read about knowledge. Before, some of y'all told me wisdom is knowledge. So what's wisdom? What's the difference? Give the mic to Phalanx. Shalom, Phalanx. What is wisdom?
Shalom, sir. Most High Christ bless. wisdom, I think, comes with experience after application. So I guess you get the knowledge from what you read, but you apply what you read. So if something works out, then you gain wisdom from that situation. If it doesn't work out, then you gain the wisdom as to what not to do.
Okay. So wisdom is, to summarize, wisdom would be what?
Application.
Okay. All right. So that's perfect, right? Give me 1 Kings 4:29. That's exactly what it is. That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. A lot of brothers, your focus is knowledge. You want to be deep. But your focus should be wisdom, right? Your focus should be wisdom. Not to just know where precepts are or to know about things, but you should be able to teach people how to apply things. That's how we're going to change the world. 1 Kings 4:29. Look at what Solomon did.
1 Kings chapter 4, verse 29. And God gave Solomon wisdom.
He gave him what?
And God gave Solomon wisdom.
Go ahead.
And understanding, exceeding much, and largeness of heart.
So these are all the things that the Lord gave Solomon after he prayed, right, to the Lord. These are the things he gave him. And the first thing we're going to deal with wisdom. We'll get into understanding in a second, but he gave him wisdom. There's a reason he gave him wisdom, right? Let's pull up the definition of wisdom. There's a reason it doesn't say he just gave him knowledge. It's a reason that's there. Every word that's written in the Bible is for a reason. So we got to look at these things and go look them up so we can understand what's the difference between wisdom, what's the difference between understanding and knowledge. And, you know, let me use these words the way they're meant to be used, and let me think about this properly. So let's pull up what wisdom means according to dictionary.com. Then we'll take a look at it. Should be in there. If I ain't send it, my bad.
Wisdom. Definition number 1. The quality or state of being wise. Knowledge of what is true or right, coupled with coupled with just judgment as the action. Sagacity. Discernment or insight.
So wisdom is knowing what's right or true, but also you apply the proper action to it. You follow the difference? So it's application. That's the difference, right? So you have to know something. Of course you need knowledge, but wisdom is knowledge with action. Does that make sense? That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is knowledge with action. So when you read in the Bible that people were wise, it was because not only did they know where the precept were or knew the story, they knew what action to take in the situations they were in, right? And a lot of us don't know what to do with this Bible. We got the Bible and we got all the precepts in the world, but we don't know what to do with it. And we don't focus on the right things. That's why we don't call our officers. We don't ask for advice, because in our mind, just because we can read something and think we have a little bit of understanding of it, we ain't got to reach out to nobody. Right? I know what to do now, but you don't. You don't. You're focused on the wrong things, right? Go ahead. We're going to get something else. We're done with that. Let's go to the video now. Let's go to the video. If you don't believe me, I'll let the white man tell you. Because for some of you, that's God. Let's go ahead and play it. You know what I'm saying? Let's play it. You don't believe me? Let the white man tell you.
Hi everyone, it's Yanis here, and in this video we will explore what is wisdom. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. Rumi. If this is your first time on this channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon to get updates on my latest videos about time management and productivity. Wisdom is the ability to think and act using knowledge, experience, understanding, common sense, and insight. Wisdom is associated with attributes such as unbiased judgment, compassion, experiential self-knowledge, and non-attachment. Our everyday life, actions, and decisions are usually influenced by different triggers, biases, and social pressure. For example, you might invest some money in cryptocurrency just because you came across really convincing information. Or you might get a new phone just because all your friends have got one as well, as you don't want to be left behind. These might not be rational decisions, and they might affect your financial situations, but we often feel that we have to do it anyway. Wisdom usually comes with time and through life's experiences. Once we experience something in our life, we know how to deal with similar situations in future. Our experiences tell us what activities can enrich our lives. It also helps us to choose the right friends from many people we meet daily in order to grow. Here are some things that wise people do and you can practice as well. First, think before you speak. Every time you're about to say something, pause for 1 to 2 seconds. Second, don't jump to conclusions. It's always tempting to jump to conclusions. Instead, take your time to look at the facts and figures. Third, listen. When you listen deeply, you will hear what people really want, and that will help you to help them.
That, right? So the difference between wisdom and knowledge, right? Or wisdom and knowledge is application, right? So he said in that you apply your experiences. So if you apply your experiences, then that would make you wise. Follow what I'm saying? So knowledge and then wisdom builds on top of the knowledge that you have. It's the ability to use what you know, right? And a lot of us don't know how to use what we know. We have the Bible and we don't know how to stop ourselves from sinning, as an example. We don't know how to use different tools to elevate ourselves spiritually or in our lives in a carnal sense, right? How to get a better job. We don't know what to do, right? Give me Ecclesiastes 5:1 real quick. This is why the Lord said this.
There's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5 and verse 1. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools. For they consider not that they do evil.
So read the next verse.
Verse 2. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let thy words be few.
So this is just one example of wisdom in the scriptures, right? A way you can apply things. Many of us know how to shut our mouths. We don't know when to shut our mouth. You get what I'm saying? So he's telling you in this verse, when you go to the house of the Lord, be quiet. Right? When you're dealing with two men of the Lord, be quiet. We don't naturally do that. Right? So we have to learn those things. When do we apply certain things? When do we not apply things? But brothers don't look for that. Brothers want this precept so they could cuss somebody at camp. Right? That's what brothers want this for. Not to know when to be quiet. Give me Proverbs 4:7.
There's the book of Proverbs, chapter 4 and verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing.
So wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is the primary thing, right? Go ahead.
Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding.
So he said, wisdom is the principal thing. That's the first thing you should be worried about, right? The baseline thing you should be worried about. But after that, you get understanding. After that, you get understanding. So my question to y'all is, we just went through wisdom. We just went through wisdom, and we kind of went through what wisdom was. So what is understanding now? That's the question. What is understanding? Go ahead.
Understanding is knowing when to apply certain things at the right moment.
Knowing when to apply certain things at the right moment. Nah, give it to the brother next to you. Let's see. Because that's sort of application, right? So we just went back to application. So what's understanding? We know knowledge is we read the book, we got the verse. Wisdom is we know when to apply it and why to apply it. What's understanding?
I'm gonna just take a shot at it. Understanding is understanding the reason why you applied, how you applied what you applied. The understanding, like, I don't really know how to word it. Like, if you learn something from reading the book and you apply it, so you understand why you applied it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's understanding how it makes sense. Right? Many of us and that's a level that it takes years to get to, where you can do something, understand when to apply it, and then understand how come it makes sense and be able to articulate that back to somebody. Many of us could drive a car and we could brake, but we don't know how the brakes work. We have no clue. We just know there's a pad in there and we press this thing in the car and the car stops. We don't know what an ABS brake does. You follow what I'm saying? These are things that we should aspire to. Solomon's telling us, you want to be a wise man? Get wisdom. But after you get this wisdom, you should aspire to get understanding of that wisdom. Know how things work. Give me Proverbs, I think 7. Give me Proverbs 7:4. This thing keep closing on me. Let me fix it. Proverbs 7:4.
Proverbs chapter 7 verse 4. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman.
Why does it say call understanding thy kinswoman? I'm asking y'all, why does it say that?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, pass it to the brother next to you. Give it to Mac. Mac ain't answer no question. He chilling. Why does it say call understanding thy kinswoman? What's a kinswoman, Mac? Let's start there.
I do not know what a kinswoman is.
Okay, it's family, right? So why is it saying call understanding Proverbs kinswoman? Like you would be, you ever heard kinfolk?
Yes, sir.
It's the same thing, right? So why would it say call understanding wisdom's kinswoman or kinfolk as an example? Why would it say that?
Because they have more understanding. Because they'll be your people. They have more knowledge than you.
Don't overthink it. A kinfolk is what to you? If I say Phalanx is your kinfolk, what is he?
Say Phoenix month.
Yeah, if I say he your kinfolk, what is he?
My brother.
Your brother, or what else? What would that make him to you? Related, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the scripture saying? Now with that understanding. Don't overthink it.
Call on your brother.
Huh?
Call on your brother.
Nah, give it to Phalanx. Try to help you. Try to get you there.
It says, my sister, say wisdom now, my sister. So wisdom and understanding go hand in hand. They're related to each other.
Correct. They're very closely related, right? So after you get wisdom, the next thing you should aspire to is understanding, right? They're kinfolk. That's what it's saying. That's why it's using them like that. And you'll read a lot of scriptures where those two things are closely related. They're mentioned together, right? Give me Psalms 119 and 27. Watch.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 27.
Yep.
Make me to understand the way of thy precepts. So shall I talk of thy wondrous works.
Right? So if you understood the precepts, then you'll be able to talk of the wondrous works. Meaning you had that foundational knowledge, but then you could explain to people how these things make sense. Right? And that's what a lot of brothers don't have the ability to do. Everybody wants to teach, right? Everybody wants to give counsel or do these different things that they view as valuable positions in the body. But the way you get there is by understanding what wisdom is and understanding where it's at. That's why with the class title is to know wisdom, because we got to go through this so you can even understand what wisdom is, what's understanding, because most of us don't care about that. We just want to have precepts and say God is black and Christ is black and Esau gonna die. That's all we want to be able to do. Give me 1 Kings 4 and 29. 1 Kings 4 and 29.
1 Kings chapter 4 verse 29. And God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding, exceeding much and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore.
Yep. So even as the sand that is on the seashore, right? So he gave him wisdom, right? Understanding and largeness of heart. That matters. Why is he giving them these things? Why didn't he give him just a big house? Why didn't he give him, just the kingdom? He gave him something that's very valuable and wisdom. We're going to go through it, right? Give me Proverbs 4 and 7 one more time. And then we'll look at the definition of understanding.
Proverbs.
Next.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding.
Again, you see those two things together. Again, there's a reason for it. It's a pattern. It's telling you, get wisdom, and you're going to need some understanding of that wisdom as well. You're going to need to know how these things make sense. So let's look up understanding real quick. Let's pull up the definition really quick. So sometimes understanding is used interchangeably with wisdom, but it's something else. It's a different thing, right? So go ahead and read that.
Understanding. Definition number 1. Mental process of a person who comprehends. Comprehension. Personal interpretation.
So there's a difference between knowing why you do something and comprehending why you do something, right? Really being able to explain how this makes sense, right? Read definition 3. Then we'll play the video. Watch.
Definition number 3. Superior power of discernment. Enlightened intelligence.
So a lot of us don't have any understanding. A lot of us don't have understanding because we can't explain how what we're doing makes sense. If a brother was to challenge how, we wouldn't be able to give him how. We'd be able to give him why. Be able to give him a little bit of wisdom on why this is being done. Well, last time I did this is how it worked out. But we wouldn't be able to give him how this makes sense in the grand scheme of things. And that's what we should all aspire to. We should be able to tell our people, hey, if you do this, this is how it's going to play out. That's what Solomon was able to tell people. He was able to have the foresight to say, if you do this, this is how it's going to end up. He understood these things. That's what he's writing about when we read Proverbs and when we read Wisdom of Solomon and we read Ecclesiastes. He's telling people how their life is going to turn out. That's what Christ was telling people, how their life was going to turn out if they didn't do what they needed to do. Follow what I'm saying? That's what we should all aspire to, right? Let's get the video. If you don't believe me, let the white man tell you, because for some of you, that's your God. You know what I'm saying? Got to say it. Everything. And Esau's just the devil, you know what I'm saying? So, you know.
Welcome to Learn Law Better. Not sure why your grades aren't where you want them to be.
So he's talking about
Do
law
you know
school.
the material
so you got,
yet?
can you pause it real quick?
You're not getting top grades.
So just so you got background
Stay
on
to
like
the
what
end.
he's talking about. He's talking about law school, right? So you all are studying the law of God, right? So I thought this would be a great parallel. So hit play.
As I explain the difference between knowing and understanding, and provide you with some tips on how you can do things differently to bridge this divide. Now, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy this episode, and click the subscribe button and the bell if you don't want to miss any future episodes. Hi, this is Bo Bias, and today I want to discuss the difference between knowing and understanding. I can't tell you the number of times that a student has come into my office convinced that they know the material, but after a few minutes of conversation, I realize that what they have is a superficial knowledge, not the deep knowledge that they need to do well on the exam. One of the languages I read is Ancient Greek. The other day I came across two Greek words for knowing. One was gnosis, which is translated knowledge. The other word is epignosis, which we might translate as precise knowledge, deep knowledge, or better yet, understanding. As you can see, epignosis builds on the word gnosis. What you need to do is move beyond gnosis into epignosis. Now here's the problem. You don't know what you don't know. In other words, you might honestly believe that you know something, but not really knowing. In the book, Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning, the authors state that the truth is that we're all hardwired to make errors in judgment. Good judgment is a skill one must acquire.
All right, go ahead, cut it off.
Now let's look at some
So
tips to help
that's
you
important
begin
right there,
acquiring.
right? Many of us don't think that way, right? We think, hey, I got the Bible, so therefore I got good judgment. That's our understanding of certain things, right? As we look at a situation, we say, well, I got the precept, so I'm going to make good judgment from this. I understand what to do in this situation, right? And that's a big problem that we have. That's why I'm going through all three. We're going to deal with mainly wisdom, right? We're going to cut the other two off at this point, but you got to be able to tell yourself you have no understanding. That was the first thing he was going to go into, but I want to move forward right for time. He said, pretend you don't understand anything. That's how you should read. That's how you should study. That's how you should look at things, as if you don't understand them. Then you'll know something and you'll gain some wisdom. But if you come into it like you already understand, you're not going to grow. That's why a lot of us are stagnant. Can I pull up that, can we pull up that last diagram, that screenshot of the difference between knowledge, understanding, and wisdom? And then we're going to go to Proverbs 9 and 10 after that. All right, so the focus of this class is going to be to know wisdom. Maybe we'll go over understanding or knowledge at a different time, but wisdom is very key for us as a people. There's a lot of deep brothers out there, you know what I'm saying, who say different things. Brother said at camp yesterday, the Bible is white supremacy, but he's a black American. The brother at camp, he said the Bible is white supremacy, but he's a black American. Then the other brother told me his nationality is Pyru. Woo! I talked overseas inside the ear off yesterday. I was like, I gotta vent, brother. These Negroes is crazy. All right, we're gonna start from knowledge. Can they see that? All right, we're gonna start from knowledge. Just read across, right? So actually go knowledge and then read the three boxes. Just so we get an idea. This will help people to summarize all the stuff we just went through.
Knowledge, perception,
What?
identifying things and situations.
Right? So you know things and situations. That's knowledge. Go ahead.
Perception of boundaries.
All right. Go to understanding.
Understanding.
Actually, go to wisdom next.
Wisdom. Why it exists. Make it better. Making better decisions. Perception of purpose.
So you have a deep understanding as to why. So knowledge is what, wisdom is why, and then understanding.
Understanding. Comprehension. Comprehending how things are caused. Perception of causal relationships.
Of causal relationships, meaning you could look at one thing and you could look at another thing and see how they impact each other, right? You understand how things impact each other. So if I make this decision or if I make this decision, I understand how it's going to turn out. Not just why I'm making a decision, but how it's going to turn out, right? That's what prophecy is understanding, right? So we're going to go to Proverbs 9 and 10. So we'll jump off that, right? So the key point of this class is the spirit of wisdom, right? The spirit of wisdom. So we're going to get into what the spirit of wisdom is, right? And why we like it, right? And why we like it. Proverbs 9 and 10.
Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding.
Right? So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We all know that, right? Psalms 111 and 10. And the knowledge of the holy is understanding. To really know how this Holy Spirit works in this earth is understanding. That's what we should all seek. First we get knowledge, right? And then we get understanding. Give me Job 28 and 12. We're going to move, Jericho. Job 28 and 12. I don't think I got no more videos, just straight precepts for the next hour and a half. Job 28. And verse 12. Start from there. So Job talked about wisdom. Let's look at it.
The book of Job, chapter 28 and verse 12. But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding?
Keep going.
Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living.
So wisdom isn't found in the land of the living, right? Because we need to understand the spirit of wisdom. So it's not found in the land of men. Right? Men don't dictate where wisdom comes from. That makes sense? We don't dictate where wisdom comes from. We're going to get into it. Go ahead.
Verse 14, the deaf saith, it is not in me, and the sea saith, it is not with me.
It's not in the earth. It's not in the sea. Go ahead.
It cannot be gotten for gold.
You can't buy wisdom.
Neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof.
You can't weigh silver and say, hey, if I trade the silver for this, I'm going to get some wisdom. It's not how it works. And many of us, we go after wisdom with these thought processes. Hey, if I just do this, I'm going to get wisdom. If I do that, I'm going to get wisdom. It's not how this thing works. Keep going.
It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx of the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall not be for jewels of fine gold.
Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20. Whence then cometh wisdom? And where is the place of understanding?
You see, so Job had a question. Where does wisdom come from then if I can't pay for it, if I can't find it in the earth? Go ahead.
Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living and kept close from the fowls of the air.
You can see our people don't have no wisdom, right? Many of them, like one of the craziest things to me is brothers go out and create baby mamas. When you lay down with somebody and you don't use a rubber and you have a child, everybody knows what that look like. But somehow that same thing keep happening over and over again because we don't got no wisdom in our community. We can't look at that and say why that don't make sense. We just say, hey, man, I got to do this thing. I know what to do the act, but I don't know why I shouldn't do the other thing. You get what I'm saying? We lack wisdom to be able to look at a situation and judge it properly. And we're all coming in here the same way. Our mindset should be, I got to ask questions because I don't got no wisdom. Right? My life, I told brothers the other day, I said, your life, the jacked up things that you're trying to repent from in your life is because you tried to do it your own way. Right? So if everybody just, when you go home, meditate on what your issues were when you came into the body. All of that is because you didn't go with wisdom. All the problems you had, whatever they are, that's because you used your own mind and you try to figure out solutions. Right? So let's go. Keep reading.
Verse 22. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weigheth the waters by measure.
So the Lord used wisdom in order to set the earth up, right? We're going to jump to verse 28. Here's the point.
Verse 28. And unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom.
To fear the Lord, that is wisdom. That is wisdom. The reason that is wisdom is because if you know the consequences, if you know the law, right, and you know the consequences of the law, then you're going to move a certain way. You'll start to apply things. But many of us, we don't know the consequences of what we're doing. We don't study that. We read the Bible and we don't think about what's going to happen if I don't do this the proper way, or if I don't listen to this counsel, or if I don't move the way I'm supposed to move, right? What is the end result of that? So therefore, we lack wisdom because we have no fear of God. So in our community, we don't care about what's going to happen at the end. We just want to live day to day. Read that from the top again.
Verse 28, and unto man he said, behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to depart from evil is understanding.
To depart from evil, that is understanding. When you understand how this is going to impact you, that's when you start to get understanding. But many of us, we don't have it. Give me Job 38 and 36.
There's the book of Job, chapter 38 and verse 36. Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts, or who hath given understanding to the heart?
So he's still asking the same question. Where do I get wisdom from? You get what I'm saying? But in our mind, we think, hey, I'm just going to open up my Bible. I'm going to sit in my room and read my 4 chapters a day, and then I'm going to get understanding. That's what we think. We think I'm going to get wisdom just reading. I told brothers, again, another thing I told brothers the other day, right? When the white man had the Bible forever, right? They were able to put us into captivity, take the Bible from us, and then they set America up and put an eagle as their symbol. Now, if they had understanding, would they have done that? If they had wisdom, if they had all the wisdom that you think they have, would they have done that? They would have said, no, let me hide. Let me hide. Let me use a donkey, a giraffe, any other animal. Let me use a dove, a pelican, anything else. But they set it up as an eagle because they don't have wisdom. Wisdom don't come from them. Wisdom don't come from you, brothers, or you, sisters. It comes from God. That's what he's saying, right? Go to, hold on. Think keep blocking on me. Give me Exodus 31 and 3. Watch, I'm going to prove it. Exodus 31 and 3. So we got to understand the spirit of wisdom and how it operates in the earth. You can't just say, I'm going to get wisdom. I'm just going to read till I get wisdom. Watch. Look what the Lord said to Moses.
Exodus chapter 31 and verse 3. And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom and in understanding, and in the knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, to devise cunning work.
That's it. So he gave him the Spirit. He gave him wisdom. Right? The Lord gave him wisdom. James 3 and 15. God, he gave him wisdom, right? And that's what you have to be able to see. You can't just pick up your Bible and read it on your own and say, I'm going to sit in this corner over here with my Bible. I'm not going to come to any Tuesday night classes. I'm not going to call my officer. I'm about to get wisdom. Nah, that's the exact reason you lack it. James 3 and 15.
James chapter 3 and verse 15. This wisdom descendeth not from above.
You see? So he was talking to them about carnal behaviors. He was saying that wisdom descendeth not from above. The point I wanted was wisdom descends from above. That's what James understood. He understood wisdom don't just come from what a man talks about. Carnality comes from what we talk about. But wisdom has to be given from God. So if you catch any wisdom in a brother, even if it's the Edomites and they say something wise, it comes from God. That's where wisdom comes from. You all have a direct connection to wisdom. No one else on the earth does. Give me Sirach 4 and 11.
Hey, can we stay in there for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go back to James. Let's start at 13 and read down a little bit.
The book of James, chapter 3, verse 13. Who is wise? Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
So right there is telling you a wise man knows how to hold a conversation right in a meek way, not proud, not arrogant, but with a meek spirit. Keep going.
Verse 14. But if ye have bitter envy and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth.
Go ahead.
This wisdom descendeth not from above.
So this is the wisdom that he's talking about. Go back to 14 again.
Verse 14. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above.
So that type of wisdom doesn't descend from above, like JDL was saying. Go ahead.
But is earthly.
It's earthly.
Sensual.
Sensual is all about you.
Devilish.
And it's evil. Keep going.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work.
Go ahead, 17.
But the wisdom that is from above is first pure,
Is pure,
then peaceable,
is peaceable,
gentle,
gentle.
and easy to be entreated,
Keep going.
full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy, because the hypocrisy comes in when you're making that judgment based on your own feelings, not based on the word of God, how God tells you how to discern between good and evil. Because there's one thing that came up in that I think you had understanding up there, and it said discernment. Part of wisdom is having discernment and being able to discern. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's crazy because me and Mac was having a conversation yesterday because he was telling me about wisdom, right? And I was saying, how do you get a sense, right? How do you get a sense?
I don't know, sir.
It's a precept. How do you get a sense? What gives us a sense?
You said what gives us a sense?
Yeah.
Application.
No, it's a precept. It's in your
Oh,
precepts.
Nehemiah 8 and 8.
Nehemiah 8 and 8, right? Nehemiah 8 and 8. And if I ask you what's going on in Nehemiah 8 and 8, right, can you tell me what's happening?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me who's talking and what's going down?
Oh.
And this is what I'm talking about. This is why JDL says you have to call your officers. You have to call your soldiers, right?
Right.
You have to, right? Let's get Sirach chapter 6, verse 32, right? Because if you start at Nehemiah 8 and 1, it's a whole scenario going down all the way to through the whole chapter, but there's a whole scenario going down. And if I ask you to read it, I'm not going to ask you to read it right now, but if I ask you to read it, what would happen is you just gloss right over everything thinking you know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on at all, right? Sirach chapter 6, we're going to start at verse 32.
Sirach chapter 6, verse 32. My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught. And if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent.
So he said, if you want to learn, right, you can be taught, right? You can be taught. Read.
If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding.
That's the key. If you're willing, regardless of age, right? Because I came here older, right? I had to humble myself down. At least I had a couple of people tell me, calm down, you know what I'm saying? Calm down, Negro, right? So I had to humble my spirit, right, to learn, right? Because no matter how you come in here, you come in at day one, you a babe, right? Even though I'm damn near 57 years old, I only been in truth 5 years, right? I'm 5 years old in this thing, right? Read.
And if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise.
If you humble yourself, right, if you love to hear, you will receive understanding why things are happening the way they do, what to apply in certain situations, right? And then if you bend your ear, if you listen carefully, you'll become wise. Read.
Verse 34, stand in the multitude of the elders.
What do you got to do?
Stand in the multitude of the elders.
So the whole thing is, we heard this scripture before, you have to be around men, wise men, right? Even for the simple things, right? The simple things, right? You think you know, but you don't know. I know this because I do counseling upstairs with Ananiah all the time, and it's the little things that it's the little things you forget that cause problems that turn into big things. So start at the top again. Stand in the multitude of what?
Stand in the multitude of the elders and cleave unto him that is wise.
So if you see somebody, right, that's wise, you should get around him. The problem is, right, a lot of times, and me and JDL talked about this, a lot of people are so caught up in who's saying it and how they're saying instead of listening to what they're saying, right? You hear me all the time say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Why? Because I'm just going to give it to you straight down the middle how I see it, right? I'm not going to be quiet. I'm loud. I'm obnoxious. From the East Coast. It's just what it is, right? Me and JD was having a conversation one time at Tabernacles, and they was like, shh, keep quiet. It was just a combination. So a lot of times, people are caught up in who's saying it and how they're saying it instead of the wisdom that's being dropped on them, right? So I don't want to go around JDL, right? I don't want to go around in Azariah. Let me go talk to Ananiah because he might tell me something. He might give it to me a little smoother, right? Read.
Verse 35, be willing to hear every godly discourse.
That's the key. Like I said, people are so caught up in wanting to about how people say it and who's saying it, other than being willing to listen to every godly discourse. Read.
And let not the parables of understanding escape thee.
Read.
And if thou seest a man of understanding,
If you see what?
if thou seest a man of understanding,
What do you got to do?
get thee betimes unto him,
Get betimes him.
and let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
Blow his phone up. Ask questions. There is no dumb question. There is no dumb question. I was going over John 3:16 with Mac yesterday, right? That's elementary, you would think, right? But it's not elementary to all. Why doesn't he know this? I can't believe he doesn't know this. Well, he doesn't know it. You know what I'm saying? There's no dumb question. It's your job with your wisdom to help that man understand. Read.
Verse 37.
Now, here's the key. And I'm about to give back to JDL after this. Read.
Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord.
Read that again.
Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord.
So we just looked at the video. It said, read, 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 read. Don't skip over words that you think you know.
And meditate continually in his commandments.
And think about what you wrote. Think about what you read. Excuse me. Think about the words you read. Like again, I'm gonna use Ezra because I was doing it yesterday. If I read Ezra and I tell you that this man was standing in front of the Watergate, can you tell me what the Watergate is? Can you tell me where the Watergate's at? It's the first day of the 7th month. What day is that? You know what I'm saying? Read.
He shall establish thine heart.
He shall establish thy mind.
And give thee wisdom.
And give thee what?
And give thee wisdom at thy own desire.
So when JDL talked about earlier about talking to your soldiers, talking to your officers, right? Talking to Cap, it's of the utmost importance, right, that you do this. I'm telling you, man, I called Cap for a year thinking I could do this by myself. And I didn't grow until I came into the body and I started being around JDL, Ananiah, Amariah that's not here, Zion that left the body, Onias, you know what I'm saying? Because Onias asked questions. I got to research. You know what I'm saying? I don't know everything at the top of my head. Everybody, I learn from everybody, right? But you have to be around wise men to get the wisdom, to get the understanding, and to get the knowledge.
Oh, praises. Go to Sirach 4.
Sirach.
Sirach 4 and 11. He on point. And that's a big thing, right? Is how do we get it, right? Because we see this thing, wisdom, if we paying attention, it has to come from the Lord, right? Wisdom 4 and 11. Sirach 4 and 11, right? Let's read that.
Sirach chapter 4, verse 11.
Yes, sir.
Wisdom exalteth her children, and layeth hold of them that seek her.
So it's identifying wisdom as a her, right? We're going to learn that as we keep reading on. Wisdom is a spirit, right? Wisdom is a spirit. This whole thing, in terms of you being able to understand why you're doing certain things, it's a spirit. So wisdom will lift up those that seek her. Go ahead.
He that loveth her loveth life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy.
Just looking at that, right? It's saying if you don't love wisdom, you don't love your life. That's just something to stop and really think about, right? If you don't seek that thing all the time, if you're not looking for why you should be doing things a certain way, you don't love your life. Go ahead, Azariah. You got something?
I was just about to say, a fool love folly.
Exactly, right? Because you like nonsense, right? So you rather chase nonsense than chase wisdom. And again, some of us are in here and we chasing nonsense, right? We think because we got the Bible, we're not chasing nonsense. But we'll dig into it, right? We'll dig into it. I want to move. I want to keep going. Keep going.
Verse 13, he that holdeth her fast shall inherit glory.
Yes, sir.
And wheresoever she entereth, the Lord will bless.
So if wisdom is in your house, if that spirit's in your house is going to be blessed. Go ahead.
They that serve her shall minister to the Holy One.
So if you serve wisdom, you're serving Christ.
And them that love her, the Lord doth love.
The Lord will love you.
Whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations. And he that
Going back to what Officer Azariah just said, if you listen to that spirit of wisdom, then you'll judge the nations. Go ahead.
Whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations. And he that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely.
So if you minister unto wisdom, you'll have security in your life. Go ahead.
If a man commit himself unto her, he shall inherit her, and his generation shall hold her in possession.
Not only will you have that wisdom, but your children's children will have that wisdom. Go ahead.
For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways.
So this is the point I want to get to, because this is the spirit that we're talking about. At the first, wisdom will walk with you by crooked ways. So you'll come in here, right? You'll learn about fringes. And you'll know why you got to go put fringes on your clothes. You'll know why you got to stay out of sin. You'll know these things. You'll say, you know what? I got to keep the Sabbath. You know why? Because Deuteronomy 28 says if we don't keep the Sabbath, the Lord's going to put curses upon us. You know why at a basic level. So in the beginning, you get some wisdom. You get a little sprinkle of that thing. That's how this works. Go ahead.
For at first she will walk with him by crooked ways, and bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with the discipline.
So in the beginning, you got different issues. Like Officer Azariah brought up, some brothers telling him, hey, you gotta relax, right? With certain brothers. When I came in here, I wasn't married, right? Everybody had their different things that they was dealing. Some brothers got divorced, right, since they've been in here because their wives was bugging out, right? So you come in and it's walking with you, but it's going to try you by discipline. It's going to make you look at the situation you in and make a decision to follow wisdom or not follow wisdom. Keep going.
Until she may trust his soul.
Until she may what?
Until she may trust his soul.
So the whole time, wisdom, which is a spirit, is proving you. That's what's happening when you come in here. The little bit you get is proving you to see, is he going to do what I've given him already? Go ahead.
And try him by her laws. Then will she return the straight way unto him, and comfort him, and show him her secrets. But if he go wrong, she will forsake him, and give him over to his own ruin. So
then if you do the wrong thing, if you go against wisdom, well, guess what? Wisdom going to let you go back into that thing that you think is wisdom, that foolishness, right? Officer Ananiah gave a great scenario of people that are engineers that think they know what needs to be done, and they're destroying the plant and making mistakes because they believe they know the right way. So some of us, we get a little bit of wisdom and we get caught up and say, you know what, I'm good. I don't need to ask for no advice. I don't need to go to nobody no more because I know the milk precepts. I know what to do. I'm officer 10. I know what to do. I don't need you. I'm officer 20. I know what to do. I'm officer 50. I know what to do. We forget that we lack wisdom in areas. We forget that. And then therefore, as a result, we stop growing. Because wisdom say, you know what? Let me stop dealing with this brother. Wisdom is a spirit. Give me Proverbs 8. Proverbs 8. Wisdom is a spirit. It's not something you don't dictate whether you have wisdom or not. And if you understood that, you would be more humble. Right? If you really had that in your mind, you would be more humble because at any point, give me Psalms 51 real quick. I think in 11 before we go there. Psalms 51 and verse 11 real quick.
Psalms chapter 51 and verse 11.
This is what David said out of his mouth. Read.
Psalms chapter 51 verse 11. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me.
So David said, don't take the Holy Spirit away from me, right? Now we're going to read that wisdom is connected to Holy Spirit, right? Just so we're on the same page. But the biggest thing I want you to see there is that spirit or that understanding of wisdom, it can be snatched from you. It's not something you just hold on to indefinitely. Hey, I got it now, so I'm forever going to understand this. No, we've seen plenty of brothers say, teach against baptism in the street, and then leave the body for baptism saying, hey, I got to get dipped in water. That's because the Lord ain't playing with his wisdom. He not just giving it to anybody. He going to give it to the people that are going to use it properly. That's what he does. That's why you got to be in the spirit and moving in the proper direction, or you'll be right outside, stuck on stupid. Telling you. We can't look at this thing like, hey, I'm just going to read this book on my own and I'm going to get wisdom. That's why a lot of us are not getting to where we want to get to because we neglect wisdom. We neglect it and we don't know how to look at it. We don't look at it like a spirit. We look at it like, I'm just going to read this book and I'm going to be as smart as Captain Zabud. I'm going to understand what the bishop understands because I watch his class. You won't. You won't. You won't. Proverbs 8. Proverbs 8, give me verse, start at verse 12. Start at verse 11.
Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 11.
Read a little quicker for me.
For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions.
So wisdom says, I dwell with prudence. I dwell with men that can look at a problem, see evil, and not run straight forward into the evil. That's who I'm with. So a brother that has wisdom is not going to be a brother with a jacked up life. That's what wisdom's going to look. That's why certain men are set up as your counselors, because they're avoiding certain issues. Read the next verse. Watch what it say.
The fear of the Lord.
Verse 14. Read verse 14. Watch this.
Verse 14. Counsel is mine.
Wisdom said, counsel is mine. So in order for you to get wisdom, guess where it comes from? It says, counsel is mine. So if you're getting counsel and you're not applying it, guess what, brother? You don't have no wisdom. Guess what, sister? You don't have no wisdom. Because wisdom comes through counsel. That spirit of wisdom is driving what comes out in a counsel, especially when you in here, you got the Bible. But we say, you know what? I got my own idea on how I'm gonna fix this. It's because you lack wisdom.
Can I give him an example?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. Let's give him a biblical example of somebody that God gave wisdom to, gave power, gave all authority to, but this dude refused to listen. You there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, start at 22. 1 Samuel 15, 22.
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 22.
Yes.
And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord?
So he said, does the Lord take delight in these things, or does he like for people to obey the Lord? Read.
Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than to fat of rams.
So it's better to obey the Lord and do what's in his Bible and use his wisdom, right, than burnt offerings and sacrifices. Read.
Verse 23, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
So if you think you're smarter than the Lord, he's telling you rebellion against me is worse than worse than witchcraft. Ooh, that's tongue twister. Read that.
And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
Because you want to be bullheaded, because you're smarter than the counselors that's giving you counsel, right? This dude was smarter than smart. He was too smart for his own good. Read.
Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord.
Yep.
He have also rejected thee from being king.
So he rejected Saul for being king because he wouldn't do what God instructed him to do. God put him in place, right, to do a certain thing, right? Gave him wisdom, gave him all authority, and this dude was bucking back. Read.
And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore.
And right here, he's straight up still lying. Right? If you know the story, he just told another fib. Read.
Now therefore, I pray thee, pardon my sin, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. And Samuel said unto Saul,
here we go.
I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord hath rejected thee from being king over Israel.
Took all his wisdom, all his understanding, and all his knowledge from him because he didn't want to listen to the Lord. He rejected the wisdom of the Bible. At first, I'm gonna walk with you in crooked ways, but if you don't listen to me, then I'm out. Right? I'm out. Right? There's way more examples in the Bible than that, but that's one example. Right? You can read in 1 Samuel 15. Right?
All praises, and that's what we got to be able to see is you don't just get to hold on to this thing, right? It's not like you just you come in here, you read the Bible, you start doing things, and then boom, by osmosis, you sitting at the table. That's not what happens. You have to constantly be improving yourself for wisdom to say, you know what? For brothers to be able, for Officer Azariah to be able to explain that to you, you had to fix certain things. That's what brothers don't understand. They think they just gonna read the Bible and they're gonna get it. Right? But in order for him to be able to comprehend that the way he does, it's because he had to look at his own life, look at the Bible, read it, go back, hear another class on it, get taught again to be able to explain that the way he's explaining that to you. That takes experience. That takes experience. Go ahead, officer.
The law giveth, the law taketh away. Grand opening, grand closing.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone, 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.